Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Saving Mother Ocean. I'm Steve Jones, host for an American broadcast podcast by the name of Rock in the Valley. We are based out of the Lehigh Valley, and I happened to run into a gentleman during a worldwide peace initiative concert that I was involved with. And this guy is Steve Andrews, and he's got this green beard and stuff. I thought he was pretty cool, so I decided to reach out and talk to him. And he's got a very interesting story here. So what we've decided to do is we've decided to make a series called Saving Mother Ocean. And in the next few minutes, we're going to explain why we are talking about saving Mother Ocean. So right now, I'd like you to welcome my very special guest. And actually, it's going to turn out I'm his guest on his show. So welcome to Saving Mother Ocean. And here is our guest host becoming Steve Andrews, also known as the Bard of Ely.
Ely.
I knew I was going to screw that up.
Well, some say Eli, and it's Ely.
Blasting Yankees, we can't get nothing right, can we? So, anyway, Steve, it's great to see you. I've seen your music. I've seen a lot about what you do, and what I like to do here is kind of like in a pilot, kick off a little bit about what your whole platform is going to be like, what kind of people we're going to be seeing in the future, and where the whole saving the ocean came from, saving Mother Ocean. So you had to get started somewhere. So let's first talk about who are you? Let's tell everybody who you are.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for the introduction, and I will now introduce myself. Basically, yes, I'm Steve Andrews, also known as the Bard of Ely. I'm originally from Wales, currently living in Portugal. I'm a singer-songwriter, I'm a poet, and I'm an author and an activist. I'm an activist stroke naturalist, because I've been a naturalist all my life. And so it's, really depressed me, angered me, worried me, about what's happening to the world. And so that's what my motivation. And what happened with me it started really in a way with the plastic pollution. That I got really concerned about plastic pollution, and I wrote a song. My song is Where Does All the Plastic Go? And from that, lots of things have happened, as I often find in life. You take one step and you don't really know where it's going to go, but it leads somewhere. And what happened was I ended up in this book, which you can see there, Stop Plastica a Mare, which is by Filippo Solibello, who is a radio host from Italy. He interviewed me, and he's written a 4-page chapter in his book, in which he talks about my song. In fact, his chapter is also called Where Does All the Plastic Go? And I'd come up with an idea as well for what I was calling Ocean Aid concerts, which would be like Live Aid. And I thought what we should be doing really is having like a lot of, really big name acts on a big stage somewhere, like Live Aid, but this time to raise awareness and to raise awareness about all the threats to the ocean. And it's not just plastic, which is bad enough. There's also like nuclear waste dumping and seabed mining and all kinds of bad stuff going on. I thought we could be raising awareness, we could be raising funds, for any of the organizations out there actually doing something about reversing the problems from the ocean. So that was how I came into all this, but it doesn't end there at all, because what happened after that was I've written a book, and there's my book, Saving Mother Ocean, which basically explains all this. Yeah. And the reason I've called it Saving Mother Ocean is because it is the Mother Ocean. The ocean is the mother to all life on the planet. People talk about Mother Earth and Mother Nature, but it's really Mother Ocean, because even the scientists will tell you all life originated in the oceans. And Captain Paul Watson, who has actually endorsed this book, Paul has said that if the oceans die, we die. So that's how serious this is. So there's my book. And as I said, like, lots of things happen when you take one step and then something else happens. And I got something else here which I show you. This is in the Portugal news because, of course, I've been getting like quite a bit of media coverage. Portugal News gave me a whole page, which you can see there. Poseidon, Neptune, and Aquaman stand by me. Okay. And this is basically my story. And the reason that they're mentioning Poseidon, Neptune, and Aquaman is because I mentioned them in my book. And what happened was, as you can see also here, that the writer of this story in the Portugal News said, "Stand by me," because I am actually well known for doing Stand By Me, the song, my cover of that classic song. I did this on Britain's Got Talent in 2017. So that's what that's about. But then something really amazing actually happened this year. Really amazing. We had in Lisbon, as I said, I'm in Portugal, we had the United Nations Oceans Conference. And one of the guests, the celebrity guests for that, was Jason Momoa, who, of course, is the star for Aquaman. And I was thinking, wow, this is just amazing. Like, I have mentioned Aquaman as a superhero that stands, to protect the oceans in my book. That's been picked up on by Jason Cleaver, who wrote this article, in the Portugal News. And now we really have the Aquaman star in Portugal at the United Nations Conference. And he has been given a title, I think it's ambassador or something, United Nations ambassador for the seas. And he said that basically, he's really excited, he's really dedicated to doing something about the oceans. And all that has come about. So that's a little bit about, what I'm doing and my story and my concern for the oceans.
Okay.
Um,
I know some of the things that we did talk about, and a lot of the things that your music does demonstrate is about the plastics. And people don't quite take this seriously, and my awareness has been risen because of you. But there's these big floating masses of plastic in the oceans, and there's more than just one. There's several, if I understand what you've been trying to teach. And if we would just spend the right amount of money, we could probably get this crap out of there. But it's destroying marine life. And to take it seriously, and I don't want to be off the wall with this, but the marine life sustains everything that's going on. And for all you king crab lovers and lobster lovers or tuna fish lovers, that's getting wiped out. And I'm looking at a picture one time of this poor turtle got this plastic thing that they hold bottles in or cans in for beer and soda. He's all wrapped around this thing. I'm thinking he's stuck. Now, how can you get stuck inside? And it's because we don't think to cut them, and an animal just can't reach up with his hand and pull this thing off. They don't got a hand. So whatever they get stuck on with, they're stuck with, and that could cause them to drown. That could cause whatever. Okay. So, I mean, this is a growing issue. We've got 8 billion people on this planet. And it's kind of frightening that if we were all civilized and we all carried a bottle of water, which according to statistics, I believe it's thought that we go through at least 3 a day. That's 24 billion bottles of water that we're throwing into the trash a day. That's amazing. And when you start doing the numbers on just human waste, whether it be plastic, paper, whatever, computers, water usage. I think I read one time that we use 10 gallons of water per person per day for washing, cleaning, whatever. Times 8 billion. Okay. And then you think about breakfast, we each have 3 eggs times 8 billion. That's a lot of chicken. So I don't know if am I in the wrong direction here? Tell me, or am I about right?
No, Steve, not at all, because basically how I'm looking at it, and a lot of people are looking at it, is that we are using up the resources, not just one resource, but all the resources of the planet. All of them are being consumed. We are consumers, and we're consuming everything. And like there was an idea, I don't know when it started or how long it's gone on for, that basically, for example, the ocean is big enough for us to keep taking fish out of it. It isn't big enough. The idea was that the ocean is big enough for it to consume and to get rid of all of our rubbish. It isn't big enough for it to get rid of all our rubbish. The idea was we could keep like getting trees and getting wood from trees because we need the wood. And there were plenty of big forests, but no, the forests, there aren't enough forests, And like everything that we take from the planet, we cannot keep doing this. And just about anything and everything we've got, I mean, like just look around my room, everything in this room, at some point, either I've bought or somebody else has bought it. In other words, it's been consumed. It's come from some resource from the planet. It may be metal or plastic or wood or whatever it is. It's been taken from the planet. And this just goes on and on and on. Like all of the resources from the planet are being taken every day. We have all this fuss about, which I'm going to, add to that fuss, basically the fossil fuels. We keep taking the fossil fuels. The governments and all these people keep saying, well, yes, we are going to take steps. This is climate change, very serious. But then what they do is they don't actually do anything. They just grant another license for more oil and more gas exploration, for more mining of these resources. And that's all adding to the climate change problem, okay? So that's that one. But it's just everything. It's like even we're talking about electric cars for the future. They need lithium, okay? And computers need lithium batteries. So where is all that coming from? It's coming from the planet. Years ago, when I was a boy, what did we used to heat the houses with? Well, we used to have coal fires. Where does the coal come from? It comes from the planet. It's dug in mines. So basically, humans are mining the planet, chopping down the forests of the planet, overfishing the oceans of the planet. And this is what the problem is. We're living in an unsustainable way. Unsustainable is really important. Like, if it was sustainable, if we had enough fish in the oceans, if we had enough forests for all the wood we need, if we had enough of anything and everything you can think of that we consume, that'd be fine. But what a lot of activists are saying, and I agree with them, is that we only have the one planet. We don't have other planets we can be taking this stuff from. Well, maybe we do, but we can't get to them. Maybe like Elon Musk will make it to Mars, because that's what he wants to do. He wants to go to Mars and set up a colony there. Fine. Well, we're not there. We can't get to Mars easily. Whatever's on Mars is on Mars. We have to deal with this planet we're on. This planet is our home. And as I said earlier, the ocean is our mother. And the ocean is where all the life started. And not only that, the ocean actually supports all the rest of the life on this planet. With the carbon dioxide, that is controlled. The amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is partly controlled by the ocean. And because of how the whole system is balanced and worked out, the balance of everything has been ruined. We call it the ecosystem. We call it the balance of Gaia, whatever you want to call it. We don't live in a balanced way. We just keep taking stuff and we waste it. As you said, we talk about plastic. Most of the plastic that we're consuming, which ends up in what you were talking about, which are ocean Gaias, masses and masses of plastic. In fact, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch is supposed to be twice the size of Texas, if you can imagine that, right? This is crazy. Most of this is plastic. And it's single-use plastic. It's like my computer is plastic, but it's not single-use plastic. Single-use means you use it one day and throw it away. And this is what we're doing with plastic bottles. If you buy a Coca-Cola, it comes in a plastic bottle. Do you use this bottle again? No, you throw it away. If you go to the supermarket and you want to buy something, you don't take your own bag. What do? They give you a plastic bag. The chances are you're going to throw it away. So it's just so much plastic every day, okay? And it's just single-use plastic. And it's almost like it's mind-boggling, it's staggering, it's whatever you want to call it, like the amount of plastic that and we're all doing it. I'm not saying I'm any better than anybody else. If I go to the shop, the chances are for me to buy some kind of food I want, it's going to come in a plastic bag. I've got cats here. If I go to buy cat food, what does the cat food comes in? It comes in a plastic sachet or a plastic bag. Even the tin cat food, even the tins, right? The tins are now lined with a plastic film. So you can't even buy canned food now without consuming plastic. So everything is basically like, what have I got my glasses, plastic frames. So much plastic that we're all using. And where is this plastic coming from? It's coming from the mine, the oil and petrol, which is being mined, which is producing the plastic, which is the fossil fuels, which people are saying we must stop the mining of the fossil fuels. And it's just, it's mind-boggling. The big picture, people talk about the big picture of what's going on this planet it's almost too big for anybody to get a grasp on,
Yeah.
But what is most important that I stress is that if we can reduce any of these things, that is worth doing. If any of us personally can reduce the amount of plastic we're buying, the amount of anything that we're buying, even like the amount of newspapers we're buying, or the amount of books we're buying, or the amount of anything we do is using up some resource from this planet. And this is why, even like, people think, well, what can I do? Everybody can do something. And there are so many things any of us can do. And they all really can come down to, we can reduce the consumption. For example, even with things like clothes, okay? Like, we all like clothes. I like clothes. But if we buy less clothes, we don't need to buy all these clothes all the time. We don't need to be following the latest fashion. We don't, if we all buy less clothes, and even on the subject of clothes, a lot of clothes are made from plastic. People don't think about this. You think, oh, that's a nice shirt, that's a nice jumper, whatever it is, that's a nice pair of pants. And you're not thinking about this is plastic. But if you look at the label, what's it made from? Acrylic or some artificial fibers. What are the artificial fibers? Plastic. So a lot of our clothes, they're made from plastic. Where is the plastic coming from? It's coming from a fossil fuel. And it's almost, it's almost unbelievable, the amount that we're using. And so, I just think, this is just coming from me, I just think if we can all cut back on our consumption, and it's also to do with what we eat, I'm talking about overfishing, in some parts of the world, fish is the main food for the people that live there, fine. So they have to fish. But a lot of other places, like where I'm living in Portugal, okay, most of the people here eat fish. It's a normal food here. But they don't need to eat fish. They just like to eat fish. I used to like fish, but I don't eat it anymore. But that's a step that I took. I just thought, okay, what can I do? Well, I can stop eating fish. Some people can't because they have to eat fish. It's where, it's the only food they've got. If you were a person, an Inuit, you're living up in Alaska, in the Arctic Circle, the only food you've got up there is animal, food, like they eat seals and whales and they eat fish because that's the food they've got there. But for people living in other parts of the world, we do have a choice over what we can eat. We don't have to eat fish. We don't have to eat meat. We can go, I can go to the store and I can buy a whole load of different things. And I'm not saying this at all. I'm not saying everybody's got to stop eating meat. Everybody's got to stop eating food. What I'm saying is, if people can reduce the amount of these foods they're eating, that's something they can do. We can all do something to reduce the overall problem which we're causing by consuming everything, the resources of the planet. And that's, I suppose, what I think we can do.
Well, and that's kind of the direction your show is pretty much going to be going in over the next few weeks. Trying to get people to think about how they can make their own impact. And if you get, I can't imagine myself giving up fish and shrimp and that kind of stuff, because that's pretty much my staple. I love red meat, okay, and it's not because I'm saying I will need a cow. I mean, I eat the occasional mystery meat from the fast food places, but I just don't like red meat as a rule. My exceptions are ribs. I'm a rib man, okay, but overall, and it's not that I avoid red meat for an environmental reason. I just don't like it, and but just things that people can do. We can get back to our recycling. We can get back to my grandparents used to have their own incinerator out back, a fireplace, and they could burn everything, and stuff they couldn't burn, they would recycle. So you have a house that has essentially zero waste output. Now, there's an idea. And then like once or twice a year, my grandfather would shovel out the ashes from out of the fireplace and throw them back on the garden. Okay, they turn that in, and it would be, I guess, nitrogen or something. There's something that did to the ground. I don't know. I'm not a farmer, but that did something. It sweetened the ground up. My grandfather would grow onions and tomatoes and that kind of. So this is being used. We have a zero output house. And today we've got solar power coming in. Wegmans, okay, and some other stores are giving you bags now to take home that you reuse. They're no longer doing plastics. There is a movement. You are, maybe not you specifically, but this movement is making a difference. In the North Atlantic, they're taking cod and they're putting them in a fish tank, a net, huge net that covers 200 acres. It goes down 70 feet, and they're raising cod. So it is happening. We've got efforts to bring these things in. So we're going to add our voices to them. You're going to add your voice to these things. You're going to bring some people on the show. I mean, what kind of people are you looking to bring on the show and to talk to with?
Steve, one thing I just wanted to say, that basically my grandparents did the same as yours, and my granddad used to get rid of his, ashes and stuff into the garden. He used to have a big compost heap, and I was brought up with all that. But basically, what's happened is that the world has changed from when we were children. We're in a different world now, and unfortunately, the world that we're in today is consuming far more than it was years ago.
It is.
But
your background, I'm sorry, your background is an old Welshman. Okay. My father.
That's right.
Yeah. My father was Welsh, and he was brought up like that, having the burn thing out back. My mom was Hungarian. They lived off the land. Their idea of a fish in its natural habitat was it was swimming in a lake. My idea of a fish in its natural habitat is I walk in, it's laying in a fish, on ice in a deli. It's it's huge difference. I want cereal. I got a cartoon character outside of a box full of sugar and some grain. So and we got to get ourselves back to this agrarian. Is that how you say it? Agrarian. Agrarian society, and if we don't do that, eventually we're going to run out of trees. Some people are all worked up. Oh, I don't want trees on my property. Well, why? They don't want to rake leaves. I've got a leaf blower that'll take care of pretty much anything. The guy that comes over and does my lawn has got this leaf blower that he can blow leaves anywhere, and he's got another thing that sucks them all up, and he doesn't charge me a lot of money to do that. Okay, trees are good, yet they're down there in the Amazon. Why don't you just cut the lungs out of Earth? That's what happens. Did you ever watch Sequest?
I have, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Sequest had big plants set up to make oxygen because the goofs in the thing before them cut down all the trees. So, it's we're losing. We've lost something in the education process here, which I don't want to get political, but it doesn't surprise me. But anyway, so we're talking about you got some guests you want to bring on. We have a direction we're going to push the show in, and we're gonna go for a couple of weeks. See who likes us. So we're gonna reach out to some other people and see some other things happening. We're hoping some people will get into the show a little bit and send us some things. So, who do you see? And I'm not saying specifics because we're gonna make people tune in. We want them to come with us. But what kind of person you think you're gonna bring on the show? What kind of people are you looking to bring on?
Well, Steve, I was thinking basically, I'd like to invite some other activists onto this show. I'm just thinking of one that comes to mind immediately is my friend Dixon Bahandagira. He's a Ugandan activist, and his whole campaign, and he's seen the devastation that the climate change, the climate emergency is causing. He's seen the flooding happening over there. And what he really wants to do is he wants to plant 1 million trees. You were talking about trees. We need more trees, So that's one person I was thinking of. Yeah. And I know quite a lot of people who are taking action. And I think this is something I'd like to express. I'd like to get over that, if we can all take action in whatever personal way we can take action, this is what we should all be doing. I'll just try to give you some examples of action I've taken. I wrote a song, I've written a book, Those are actions I could take because I'm a writer, but I've also taken some other actions, like I don't eat fish now, I've taken other action. I use like a reusable bottle. If I go out, I fill the bottle with water and take it with. So these are like little actions and maybe like bigger actions with me writing a song and a book. But any actions at all that we can take, I think we should be taking them. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to have my guests coming on here to talk about the actions they've taken in whatever field, that action has been. And as I say, I thought of Dixon, from Uganda. He's like a really great example of somebody taking action. And right now, as we speak, I know he's at the COP27, that summit which is taking place. I'm actually thinking of somebody really interesting who I think would do this is King Arthur Pendragon. Because he's an activist.
King Arthur Pendragon?
King Arthur Pendragon, yes. He's a druid, and you see, you haven't heard of him, but you're interested already.
Yeah.
King Arthur Pendragon is a druid leader from the UK. He is the subject of a book. He's been featured on many TV programs. He's been on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Okay, and I'm actually a member of his Druid Order. I'm a quest knight of the Loyal Arthurian Warband. And if you join his order, you are sworn, okay, to uphold the ancient virtues of truth, honor, and justice. Okay? So that's what, I've been under his sword. The sword is called Excalibur, like the Excalibur of old from the Arthurian stories. Arthur has an Excalibur today. I'm just telling you a little bit about Arthur now. When Arthur was on the front page of the Guardian, okay, he'd been in a court case in London, and this was the main story, the main headline in the Guardian. It was about Arthur, and he held his sword up, and there was a photo of him outside the court, and he said, "I am King Arthur, this is my sword Excalibur, and as the Arthur of old took his sword from the stone, I have taken my sword from the stonework of London." And then that was the caption for the story. And that is what he did, okay? Now, he's an activist in the way that basically the Arthur, the legend, the prophecy, if you like, was that King Arthur would return to Britain in its hour of greatest need, okay? Arthur would tell you, and anybody who agrees with what Arthur's about would say, yes, Britain is in its hour of greatest need. It's being destroyed. The forests are going, the rivers are all full of sewage and muck. The land is being bulldozed and used for whatever purposes, roads going here and all this. So basically, Britain is under attack. So it's in its great hour of greatest need. So Arthur is trying to save Britain. Arthur has stood in many protest camps, to save woodland or save the green belt areas that were going to be built on. He's been doing all that, and also very, very, very involved with Stonehenge. Okay, Stonehenge. Everybody knows about Stonehenge all around the world. It's a famous ancient monument. But maybe what people don't know is that back in the 90s, you were not allowed to go there at the midsummer solstice. They were doing this crazy thing. They were saying, the police were saying, we have an exclusion zone around Stonehenge and you can't go there. And Arthur was one of the people who got arrested for breaking the exclusion zone, walking through, and they arrested him several years in a row, okay? So he missed out on midsummer solstice, he missed out on going to Stonehenge, and then they changed the rules. They changed the rules. And they said, and what happened before they changed the rules was that he was awarded an out-of-court settlement for a lot of money by Wiltshire Constabulary, okay? Mm-hmm. And then after that, for wrongful arrest and imprisonment overnight, I think that was what it was for. And then after that, they changed it and they said, yes, okay, maybe people can go to Stonehenge. So in my way, if I think about Arthur, I think, okay, for people to go into Stonehenge today on midsummer solstice is partially only because he stood and made a protest by breaking the so-called exclusion zone year after year, being arrested for that, standing his ground. And that is the thing, he stands his ground. Yeah, like if Arthur says, I'm going to do something, he does it. Somehow, whatever he's got to do, so he's like, in a way, he's like a living superhero. A lot of us watch the superheroes, TV and film. Arthur's like that. So I thought, like, he's an ideal, he's an activist, and he stands to save the land, Britain.
Without really, I just want to dive down a quick rabbit hole here. Why weren't they allowed to go there during the summer solstice?
Why were you not allowed to go this summer solstice? I think, yeah, okay. They have been saying that people can damage the stones. I can't remember whether that was the official reasons which were given years ago, but these reasons have been given, is that people damage the stones. Yeah. And
they did that to the pyramids. The pyramids have really nice exteriors on them, and they stripped all that the shiny exterior off, and they're crumbling and whatever else. They're just weather itself just takes things apart. So, but okay, I thought there was another odd reason that it was being done.
Well. I'm just thinking of this now, because this was big, was that there were the Stonehenge Free Festivals, okay, which were happening. And this was in Margaret Thatcher's era, that there was the one year that the police were called in and the police stopped the Free Festival happening in what was called the Battle of the Beanfield, which was basically police brutality out in the open when the people who were intending to go to the Stonehenge Free Festival were attacked. They were in, like, buses and lorries and vans and all this stuff, and they were physically attacked. They had the windows smashed, and there were women and children that were harmed, and It was awful. And if you just Google it, Battle of the Beanfield, you'll find, footage of all that. And there was the band The Levelers. They had a single out, Battle of the Beanfield.
Wow.
And what I'm getting to here was that was Stonehenge was the focus, and it was the system, if you like, the government. They did not want people having a free festival at Stonehenge. They wanted to stamp that out.
Wow. Well, that answers my question. Well, we're getting close to the end here of our premiere. So just some parting ideas you would have for your viewers about the upcoming shows. You have anything you want to tell them that?
Yeah.
Ideas.
Yeah, I mean, just a general thing. I just think, like, if everybody can just think about your life and take some kind of any action you feel that you can do to help the situation we've got worldwide, that's important. And for the future shows here, as I say, I'd like to invite on here some really interesting guests. I've just mentioned two, Dixon from Uganda and King Arthur. And in fact, I don't think you could get a much more interesting person than Arthur.
Yeah.
But yes, that's two. And I've got another friend who's a singer-songwriter. Happy, her name is, and she writes songs like I do. Kind of environmental protest songs. Is somebody else I could invite on, and also someone. Steve,
I think it would be great. I mean, I think we can start to encourage people to get back to recycling. Okay,
Oh, recycling, yeah.
I mean, recycling still does happen. It's just it doesn't happen like it used to, and we can get back to that. I have noted that newspapers are stopping their print outputs because it's all online. Why, why have a circulation of 200,000 newspapers when you can put it all online and you have a circulation of 10,000? It's getting ridiculous. You're saving dozens of trees, hundreds of trees every day, thousands if everything's online. And we are moving toward that. We are moving towards a paperless society. And you and I both remember paper being, long before the internet and computers were around. Matter of fact, in computers, you'd have a file and you print the file, so you have a piece of paper instead of reading it on a stupid computer. So, so we've slowly transitioned into the paperless society, and our goal here is to save the oceans. That's what we're talking about. But in saving the oceans, we can be saving other things as well. And people, it's like this: if we all pick up one piece of trash, just talking to the Americas here, that's 385 million pieces of trash that will get picked up today. If everyone picks up just one piece, all right. So I mean, the littlest bit helps. And the thing I'm reminded of is that when the pandemic first started, it was only a year that we were kind of hid inside, but Earth healed. Earth will heal very fast. And I also learned in that after my long 61 years, sorry, after, being around as long as I've been, Earth is a living, breathing organism. Okay. So as much as people say, no, it's not. Yeah, it is. It's for real. This thing acts, it may not sit up in bed and look at you and say, hi, how are you? It doesn't do that. It's a completely different kind of organism. The Earth is alive, and we are part of its life force. Birds, salamanders, insects, mosquitoes, skunks, okay, porcupines, sharks, including Jaws, okay, whales, all of that, okay. All of it is part of what makes life here on Earth. And if all that dies, we become a Mars or a moon. I'm a bit of a sci-fi freak, and I follow all the good stuff that goes on. There's a lot of random elements that came together to protect this planet from the hostile outer space. And it'd be a shame if the most intelligent creature that would ever rise on it would blow it apart, because they're looking for a lot of planets. And what's the number that we found? 700 exoplanets, some fantastic number like that, and none of them have life like us. It's only a small portion, but still, you'd think we'd find at least a bug, right? So that was my little environmental speech. I'm a little more cruder than that. I'm just a musician and computer geek.
Steve, I just wanted to say, comment on that I've actually mentioned this in my book, Saving Mother Ocean, that there are many indigenous people who would agree with you. And basically, I mentioned the Kogi people from Colombia in my book, and they think of the creator as such as a mother. And they believe that all of the creatures and all the plants and all the life on this planet are part of the creation, and that we should be, if anything, helping to look after all these other life forms. We shouldn't be destroying them. And the reason I mentioned them was that they were in a documentary in 1990, which was called From the Heart of the World, The Elder Brothers Warning, because they were giving a warning to the rest of the world. And I guess I hope I'm not going to go on too long about this now. I'm trying not to, but basically I better explain. They do believe that they are the elder brother. They think they were created before the rest of us, who they call the younger brother. And in their creation story, the younger brother was causing problems when he was created long ago. And so the younger brother was sent over the oceans to get him out of the way, to leave the Kogi, the elder brother, in peace, to do their thing, which they were also told how to live and how to look after, the rest of life on the planet, up on their sacred mountain up in Colombia. But unfortunately, the younger brother came back, and he came back in the form of the Spanish, and the Spanish had guns, and they had religion, and it's the same old story that's happened in many Central American countries were colonized by the Spanish and bringing guns and religion, but fortunately for the Kogi, they were able to escape. They went up the mountains out of the way, and so they have if you like, almost an untouched pre-Columbian culture, and they have their belief systems. But in 1990, they were so concerned about the fate of the planet as they could see it, that they wanted to give a warning, and they agreed to do this BBC documentary. I mentioned them in my book, and again, I mentioned Captain Paul Watson. Sea Shepherd has endorsed my book. Also, film director, BBC director Alan Herrera has endorsed my book. And it brings me to one more person that I thought of that we could invite on this show, Lily Platt. Lily is 13. She's known for picking up plastic. She's founded Lily's Plastic Pickup, I think, when she was 9 or 10. And she is currently a Youth Global Ambassador, okay? And she has endorsed my book. I give her a mention in my book, and she's somebody I know. So I thought maybe it would invite her on the show.
Do that. Yeah. Just mentioning on air, just to say, so mom or dad's with her, we can do it. Because of her age. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities here, and sometimes even just getting somebody who's just Joe average popping in and saying, "This is what I think." That might be an idea to have that kind of show.
Yeah.
You have several people popping in, and maybe have 5 come on, and they'll talk about for 5 minutes about what they think. And I would open that invitation up to people too, because again, this is huge. This affects everybody. It affects everything, and so Mother Nature does take care of itself, but we can't be beaten up on it. I'll leave you with a short, funny story I think you'll get a kick out of. I used to have guppies. You know what guppies are? Okay, those little fish. I had 125-gallon aquarium, had about 10 guppies in it. Okay, and with these 10 guppies that I had, I told my buddy to feed them for me when I went on vacation. And again, this is nature at work. And my buddy came over to the house and he saw my 10 guppies and figured they got to eat. So he gave them food to eat. Went through a whole can of fish food in a week with these 10 guppies. The bottom of my tank was loaded with that much food. And they cleaned it up nice and neat. You know, Mother Nature takes care. Now, Steve, what happens when you feed guppies a lot of food? You don't get a fat guppy. You get lots of guppies. I must have had 1,000 guppies in that tank. So, even from the smallest thing, if we just kind of give my point to my story is, all we got to do is help nature go in the right way, and I really think nature will take over and we'll heal. It will bring back our fish. It will bring back our lobster, our crab, our trees, and everything else. We just got to stop being jerks about it. So, that about wraps us. That's about the time we have for here on our premiere show of Save. Get me straight. Save the Oceans? No.
Saving Mother Ocean.
Saving Mother Oceans. Okay, I'm sorry. I should have had it written in front of me here. Saving Mother Oceans. You can pick up the book. Also, where can you buy that book? Tell them where you can get the book.
You can get it online, Amazon. If you just Google Saving Mother Ocean, Steve Andrews, you'll find Amazon, Amazon.com, Amazon.co.uk. Also from lots of other places. It's basically just available now. It's distributed. It's got publisher Moon Books. They got distribution in America, also in the UK, worldwide, I think.
We'll eventually be able to present that with part of our whole online package here. But excuse me 1 second.
Steve, I was going to say, shall I play my song, Where Does All the Plastic Go?
I will insert that at the end. Okay.
You'll insert it, will you? Okay.
Sorry, you don't have to play it. So anyway, that's how you can get the Save Mother Ocean book. We'll have the insert into regular broadcast, so you can just order it, link to it, right to it. And I'd like to thank everybody for joining us here on our premiere show. Followed up right behind this, we're going to close the show out with Where's All the Plastic Gone? That's his song, and it's got some pretty interesting viewpoints on where all this plastic is going. For now, Steve Andrews, thank you for having me on your show. I'm passing the baton of innovation to you. And yeah, thank you for having me on the show, and thank you for sharing this with me so I can produce the future shows with you. I'm looking forward to it. So.
Well, thank you, Steve. And I used to be a guppy breeder. I used to keep tropical fish. I used to have loads of tanks in my bedroom, and so I know exactly what you were talking about there.
Yeah, they do breed quick, don't they?
They do indeed, yes.
So, all right. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining in. Steve Jones and Steve Andrews here. Have yourself a good night and recycle something today. Thank you very much for doing that. Good night now.
Plastic plants, what about real plants? I saw the fake ones at the store. People must want them, people must buy them. I don't want to see anymore. Where does all the plastic go? Into the sea, into the sea. How does it get there? Who threw it away? Was it you or was it me? It's not hunting that'll kill the last whale. Plastic will do it, it's a very sad tale. And all the albatrosses are dying out too. They keep on fishing in the oceans. Plastic stew. Where does all the plastic go? Into the sea, into the sea. How does it get there? Who threw it away? Was it you or was it me? The plastic bag I bought, it very quickly broke. If it ever gets burned, there'll be poisonous smoke. When's all the plastic go into the sea, into the sea? How does it get there? Who threw it away? Was it you or was it me? Plastic kills the turtles and it's eaten by the fish. Plastic's in the food chain and the dinner on your dish. When's all the plastic go into the sea, into the sea? How does it get there? Who threw it away? Was it you or was it me? Was it you or was it me? Was it you or was it me?